Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for Wednesday, August 18th, 2020. And I will tell you, Alan, before I introduce you, I'm getting feedback of my voice here, and it's driving me nuts. So if you could. So Alan Cunningham is our master engineer for the show.
It took him about 1 second to deal with that issue.
Okay, and that feedback is gone. And on the panel to my far right, doing more than the required 6 feet of social distancing, is my good pal, Mr. Duke Forrest.
Hey, Huck.
Hey, Duke.
I thought I'd dig out my old Red Sox cap in honor of the Red Sox ending their 9-game losing streak this afternoon.
We'll get into that. So we might as well just touch on the Bruins right now. I told you a week ago that series is the best matchup, and the previous game, the Bruins scored 4 goals.
Boy, the last game Carolina was one of those games the Bruins were doing everything but scoring in the first 2 periods.
Yeah.
2-0 Carolina after 2. I was pretty much conceding defeat. Then Bruins get 4 goals in about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Carolina got a late goal, but Bruins went crazy. Carolina got up 1-0, game going on. Now Bruins got 2 power play goals in the second period. David Krejci just missed. Sounded like he hit it off the crossbar, but 2-1 Bees as I came in the third period. So they're about maybe 13, 14 minutes from moving on with the win today.
Yeah.
Who would they play, Huck?
Duke, I don't have my chart in front of me, but the Islanders are playing the Capitals. Is that correct?
You're ahead of me even.
And Washington was the top 4 team,
but won yesterday, I think. It's now 3-1. They're down.
For the Isles.
For the Isles.
Yes. Okay. So
I think,
if I'm correct, which I think I might be, the Bruins will more than likely end up playing Tampa the second round because they reseed. Philly will probably end their series tonight against the Habs.
Right.
So they remain 1, Tampa 2. Boston will be 3, and the Islanders will move into the 4th spot.
So probably Bees, Tampa, not the best news for the Bees, probably.
Yeah, and, the Canadians have played well.
Yeah.
Okay, but the issue is, and I can really oversimplify this, they don't have a first line.
All right.
I mean, you tell me who are the big guns on the Canadians.
But I actually have paid some attention to the Team 690 folks, get into that a little bit. But, I couldn't. Calling some of the callers not happy with Mr. Drouin. Gallagher's been kind of nowhere, although some people keep praying he'll come back to life.
I like to call high draft picks bust. Yeah. And Jonathan Drouin is a bust.
They had pretty high expectations for him when they got him, didn't they?
Are you kidding me? He was the 3rd overall pick a number of years ago with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
3rd overall?
Yes. Wow. And he had issues with Lightning management, and they just got tired of him. So the Canadians traded their number 1 defensive prospect, Mikhail. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain freeze here. Serger, it's a Russian guy. And the kid, as we expected, turned out to be a really good defenseman. And Drouin is a Quebecer. And it was just perfect getting him back home. Yeah. And as I said, he's been a bust, has shown very little. Brendan Gallagher has done nothing. We've been shut out the last 2 games, so I guess I don't need to.
It's funny hearing, you're the Canadians guy, but hearing all the talk about Gallagher on Team 690, AM 690, it's making me think of Max Pacioretty, who seemed to be just beat up so much. A good guy and stuff, pretty high expectations, who just wasn't doing much.
Well, he wasn't a good captain type. He just didn't have that personality to be the captain.
Ended up on Vegas? Is he still playing?
Oh, he had scored 32 goals this year. Didn't do much last year, but second year with the Knights, 32 goals. Wow. And the Canadians did well in the trade. They got a big prospect in Nick Suzuki, who's playing pretty well, and I think he's going to be a really solid player. And they also picked up Tomas Tatar, who's been a 30-goal scorer for the Canadians. Yeah. Now, he's the type of guy, if he doesn't get on a score sheet, is unnoticeable.
All right.
You know, he's got to score, or it's just not worth having on the ice.
Yeah.
So defensively, the team's been playing well, and the Flyers, boy, I told you last week they were 9-1. The last 10 games,
Wow.
ending in early March. And I think in the last 25 games, Duke, they had won 18 out of 25 games.
Really?
And they're a bunch of no-names. I mean, they're a veteran guy like Claude Giroux you've heard of, but they've got the goaltender, Carter Hart, who's, I believe, 22, 23 years
Wow.
old, a really solid up-and-coming
it's a
goaltender.
very,
And
very
a bunch
good
of
team,
no-names,
huh?
but they just
Yeah.
play great team effort, and their goal coach is ex-Montreal Canadiens coach Alain Vigneault,
Oh, yeah.
and his
Okay.
assistant coach is former two-time Montreal Canadian coach. He was a gentleman fired when they hired Claude Julien a couple years ago, Michel Therrien.
Oh, is that right? Really?
So, it's been a pretty
Interesting.
clean series, but and again, the Canadians really don't have the talent. And when I start spewing off Bruins, I mean, I probably can name you 5 Bruin forwards that are better than any of Montreal's top forward.
Really?
And a guy like Brendan Gallagher will score 30 goals a year. He's a grinder, a Brad Marchand type guy. But I'm of the theory, and I say it all the time, it's better to get rid of a player a year too early than a year too late. If I may say, he's like a Dustin Pedroia type player, where Dustin just kind of wore out by his hard play. And I think Gallagher would be a good time to trade him in
Sounds
the
like the
offseason.
Habs were especially unlucky. A couple games ago, a 2-0 loss when they hit 5
1-0.
posts or something. 1-0.
Right, they had 4 goal
It sounds
posts.
like they probably deserved to win that game. Or could have, toss-up game.
But as many people will say, and it's true, a goal post literally is not a shot on net. It doesn't register as anything. So,
interesting.
But
again, you're getting bonus in from your case.
tonight,
Total
I can
bonus
tell you what's
hockey.
happening after the
8
show.
8 o'clock start.
Yeah, after the show,
You'll tape it, obviously.
Yeah, DVR. I've got 3 games DVRing tonight. So after the show, it concludes at 8 o'clock. I will go to McDonald's and get a cheeseburger Happy Meal for my grandson Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
I go pick him up.
Yeah.
He eats his Happy Meal, and we're DVRing the Celtic game that just started, and
that's great.
we'll watch the Celtic game together. The kid's 7 years old, and Duke, he's got more knowledge than 90% of the
Really?
people.
Sounds like maybe we need another year or 2 on the boy. Get him on the set
Yeah,
here.
a couple years, I think he'll be ready for prime
Right.
time. But
Celtics game is officially at what start? 7:30.
6:30.
But I thought that was coverage. I saw 6:30. Is that?
I
the
think it's
actual
like
game?
6:35. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the game.
Yeah. So, but as far as the Bruins are concerned, Tuukka Rask, I
Interesting.
might make a statement here that Tuukka could very well have played his last game as a Boston
In fact,
Bruin.
guess who? You have very good feelings to know for Kevin Paul Dupont,
One
one of the best probably
great
hockey writers
writers
in the
in North
country.
America. There's no question about
The
it.
only Globe I get is Sunday, the only time I can't find it.
Yeah.
This is his front page story sports section. Sympathy aside, time to move on. He noted that Tuukka had also taken off in November 2018. Remember that? Early on in the season. Kind of the same thing. Hey, guys, need a break. Gotta go see the family.
Right. Apparently his daughter was sick. Now,
Oh, is that right?
was it life or death? I don't think so.
The timing. I just go back. The timing was brutal.
Let's talk COVID-19 in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
Would you care to guess?
Pretty much a non-issue.
Zero. Absolutely. So COVID-19, as you said, is a non-issue.
Looks like hockey and pro basketball are doing a very good job with this.
I was telling our buddy Joe, I just can't believe how well basketball and hockey is playing out on television.
Yeah.
And as we said last couple of weeks, hockey being such a fast sport, you really don't even notice the fans aren't there. But Tuukka, he has a responsibility to his family.
Yeah.
However, this is the unusual situation.
Yeah.
He's got 20 other guys he's accountable for, plus millions of Boston Bruin fans that he's accountable for. Now, it didn't come as a surprise because we have seen Tuca with a couple interviews, especially the last one I saw of him during the round robin.
And he had voiced a lot of...
And he just says this round robin or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't being facetious, but you could tell he wasn't into it.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Bruins went 0-3.
Yeah.
And the question is, well, are they good enough to flip the switch?
Yeah.
Well, Carolina's a pretty good hockey team, and as you've seen during the series, I mean, Carolina could have won this series, but the Bruins
still could for all.
But the Bruins, they were the President's Cup winner this year. They were the top team in the NHL, and yes, in fact, they are good enough to flip the switch. For most teams, they're not. But the Bruins, to the credit of their general manager, is, and we've known this, is they have the best backup goaltender in the NHL.
Although he was getting some, at least mild criticism last game. Did you catch, especially the second goal when Carolina got up 2-0? Pretty soft goal.
Yeah.
Just went
It'll
by his
happen.
glove hand.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. So,
But he's probably about the best backup in the NHL.
You're right. So, but I would say I think Tuca's only got 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah, and it looks like we got a call, Mr. Hawk.
Okay.
We'll come back.
Good evening. You are the first caller tonight on the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Good to hear from you. Go ahead.
How you doing? Hello? Hello?
Hey guys, how are we doing tonight?
Hey, we're good. How you doing? Bobby, you watching?
I'm done watching the Bruins game.
You
Is that game over?
shouldn't be over. Bob, boy, we lost.
Yes,
Alan, we lost
Boston
our
won
caller
2-1.
there for the moment anyway. Bobby, hang in there if you're still with us. Trying to work on some technical issues here.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I think we're okay now. Yep, fire away.
Okay. Yeah, Boston won 2-1.
Wow, it's
Great
over.
game. Alec had a good game in goal.
Wow. Alan, we're getting some more feedback for
Boy,
what
the
that's
last
worth if you
6
don't know
minutes,
that.
I was chewing my fingernails. The Bruins looked a little bit
Boy, you're
more
kind of
tired.
drifting in and out.
Carolina
No,
has a
not-
good
not
team.
your
They're a very
problem here.
defensive team.
Bobby, keep
very
talking, Bobby.
aggressive.
Keep talking.
In the last 6 minutes, they kind of outplayed Boston,
No.
but
Well, now
Boston
we can.
hung in
Now
there
you're
tight,
very
and it
faint,
was
Alan. We
kind
can't
of body
really.
to body.
Okay,
but it
keep
was
talking.
a
I think
great
we
game.
hopefully have it worked out. Keep talking. Well, we're not getting anything
you
at the
hear me?
moment here. Jeez, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe try us again in a few minutes. if
You
you're-
don't hear me now? You can't hear me?
Boy, you're
barely.
very low volume. Alan, can we crank him up? Boy, sorry, we're having so many problems here.
Is the problem, Alan, with the monitor out here on the floor?
Yeah, don't know.
So,
Well, I guess we better talk.
How about now? Any different?
Yeah, I think we got you enough
I think
right
we
now.
can manage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were saying the Bruins,
Yeah,
Bruins
okay, I'll
move on.
just speak a little bit louder. I can do that.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, if you can do a little louder, that'd be good.
Yeah, no, it was a good game, and Boston looked a heck of a lot better in this series. All these teams started off kind of in the playoffs before they really had practices. So I think by the end of it, the cream will still rise to the top.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, because the Bruins weren't doing much in the round robin. I guess they probably didn't care that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, solid effort by the Bees. They look pretty good.
yeah. And the next series, so I believe it will be Tampa. That is going to be a fantastic series.
Sorry, we still seem to be
Alan,
having some
we don't
issues.
have them.
I think they just clinched as well, haven't they?
Did Tampa clinch, or they're one game short of clinching?
Yeah, boy, I'm not sure.
Again, I'm not paying a ton of attention to other series, to be honest.
So, yeah.
Were they playing Columbus? Actually, I think I heard on NHL radio. Was Tampa playing
Yeah,
Columbus?
Tampa won today 5-4, and they won the series
Okay.
4-1.
Okay.
And we're thinking Tampa, Hawks thinking Tampa and the Bruins next.
And those, without an argument are the best two teams in the
hockey's
East.
Been good. I've been into this quite a bit. I haven't seen all the Bruin games, but I've been keeping tabs on it and watching different games, and I love it. Hockey kind of moved right up on my charts.
Yep, same here. I totally spaced out about the Bruins game, Saturday, but 2 Saturdays ago. But no, I'm into hockey. I love Stanley Cup hockey. It doesn't get much better than that. It's been decent hockey.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobby, and the Red Sox won today, of all things. How about that? Those tough Red Sox.
Yeah, I haven't followed any baseball. I don't think I've seen one pitch.
Yeah, not missing much. What do you think, Hawk?
Oh, I'll tell you what, the Boston Red Sox.
No, even at work, I work with a bunch of sport guys like us, and not a word is ever said about it. I guess this year is going to be just one of those years,
Yep, and if it's going to be one of those years, as Hawk has said, it's a good year for the Red Sox to be one of those years. Chris Sale's obviously, hopefully recovering. So if they're going to be a horrible team, good time to do it, I guess.
Listen, Boston management should do everything in their power to lose as many games as possible without it being noticeable. The Red Sox came in today's game with the lowest ERA in baseball, 6.36 runs a game.
Highest ERA
is the LA Dodgers 2.64.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a 4-run difference.
Yeah.
So, no. Again, the Red Sox the season's going to be over in 6 weeks.
Yeah, so effectively over now, but you're right.
Yeah,
might
just
as well lose.
Play it out. And right now, if the season ended tonight, the Red Sox would have the 2nd overall pick in the June draft.
Wow.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So. Okay, I think we've lost him again.
Well,
yeah, I don't see why they don't just sit Evaldi for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Bobby mentioned Evaldi. He said
come down with one of those mystery ailments.
Sit him down so he doesn't do anything.
He's been nothing short of horrible.
I don't think I don't think you have. You got his stats here?
5.93 ERA with an alarming whip of 1.43.
Well, I guess I can't counter that too well.
And again, I don't know the hype on Nate Evaldi. They gave him a huge contract, and there was contracts like that to Evaldi is the reason they couldn't afford to sign Mookie Betts. It was nothing against Mookie. They had no money left over. But Evaldi, into the season, Duke, was a 4.28 ERA pitcher.
No, part of it goes back, and again, it's one of the games that so sticks in my mind is an incredible relief effort against the Dodgers.
Right,
and he did pitch reasonably well that year, but no, those stats aren't good. But again, this is a horrible team.
I mean,
I still, for the record, have some hope for him in the future.
Well, like I said,
I'm crazy.
Next year you hope, and aside from the Red Sox, for the good of baseball, you hope Chris Sale comes back because he's such a fun pitcher to watch. You get Sale, and the number 2 guy has to be a guy they're going to spend minimum $25 million on.
Eduardo Rodriguez, presumably, is
and
okay
Erod
next
would be 3, Evaldi would be 4, and we can work out who's going to be number 5. And, pitching's everything. It's 80% of the game. And as duly noted, the Dodgers are 2.64 ERA, and the Red Sox 6.36.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Mookie, I'm hardly the first person to make this point, but say they had signed Mookie, what might they have now? Maybe another win or 2 or 3 at best, probably.
Yeah.
So that looks like to me pretty good money, a pretty good fortune not to have spent. No offense, Mookie. Yeah, sorry. I'm afraid our technical issues have kind of killed us. Yeah.
Hey, Alan, we're still dying out here with this audio. So,
anyway.
Okay, caller, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I more than appreciate you calling in, but we simply cannot hear you.
Yeah, thanks for thinking about. Sorry about that. Hopefully next week will be better.
Mookie, and when the Giants drafted number 2 overall pick a couple years ago, Saquon Barkley, arguably the best running back in football.
I was going to San Francisco baseball Giants.
No.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Yes.
He is a piece if you're a good team. Just say the Patriots had traded up.
Yeah.
And that's the missing link. No problem. But the Giants stink, okay? And a running back, let alone the first round, the second overall pick, you simply do not do.
But I thought, so correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you were happy with that pick at the time, no? Not
No,
at
I
all?
said at the time. Now, I will tell you
I mean, you like this guy. obviously.
you decide who the best running back, either him or Christian McCaffrey.
But you were not happy. It was just crazy for a bad team.
Dude,
a crazy
you don't
pick.
even pick a running back in the second round. The Giants last year won 4 games. Okay, they've got the worst record in football for 4 years combined.
Is that right?
Right, and it's just. It was not a smart pick. But, getting back to Mookie, he's hitting 305, 9 home runs, 21 RBIs.
How many homers?
9.
Wow.
I mean,
he's a very good stat.
For whatever it's worth this year, I mean, he's in the MVP chase. And again, it's not the Red Sox who decided we didn't want to sign Mookie. Yeah. It was simply, we've given so many bad contracts out, like a Nate Eovaldi.
Pablo Sandoval. Eovaldi's hardly at the top of my list, but he's in
But
there.
Eovaldi is probably getting...
Rusney Castillo.
Getting $70 million. Right. And it just all added up. And the Red Sox were paying huge luxury taxes for a number of years where the ownership finally said enough. Well...
But even if it hadn't added up, are you saying you think they would have signed, had they not blown so much money, you think they would have signed into megabucks? They might have anyway.
I think so, but just to show you the value of a pitcher, the world champions, Washington Nationals.
Your guys.
Okay, on the cusp of the luxury tax, okay? They had their choice. Do we sign Anthony Rendon? Or do we sign World Series MVP Steven Strasburg?
Yeah.
Again, pitching 80% of the game. They simply chose to give Strasburg a 7-year, $235 million contract. Wow. And our good friend Steven Strasburg currently resides on the disabled list again.
Well, of course, they might bring him back because they might. What are the Nats like around 500?
Oh, they're
not even that.
Maybe 3 or 4 games under 500.
Wow. So you have little hope for?
No. Because
so you hope he comes back.
Well, look, Duke. How many teams are making the playoffs?
A bunch
this year.
Is it 8
teams? Okay, there's 15 teams,
really? So
you have a better than 50%. Now, I'm like 2 nights ago, we're playing first place Atlanta Braves. We're up 6-3, bottom half of the ninth inning.
Right, don't tell me you lost
Big win.
that game.
Guy gets on base. We bring in our closer, Daniel Hudson, who's been very good this year.
Yeah.
Gives up a 2-run home run.
Wow.
6-5.
6-5.
Just a fluke. Another runner gets on. Shortstop Dansby Swanson comes up and hits a
home run.
Clothesline over the center field fence.
Is that right?
Lose 7-6.
Oh, what a tough loss.
And so last night, they bring in Hudson in the ninth inning.
Yeah.
And he 1, 2, 3, he's out.
Yeah.
It's like when you're golfing. You hit a ball and you hit it out of bounds, okay? Yeah. Then you have to take your penalty, your drop, okay? Same club, then you put it right in the center of the green. I mean, that's just the way sports is.
So what's Strasburg's injury?
I've never heard this in baseball. Carpal tunnel? Does that make any sense to you? He's had nerve issues, and God knows I know nothing about medicine.
When you're looking at a computer screen forever?
Your wrist, I guess.
And from just hitting keyboards.
He was out for a while. He came back and pitched or got 2 outs in the first inning, and you could see him waving his hand in between pitches. And finally he threw one, and he just waved his hand, motioned out for the trainer, and he's gone. And I don't know how long that's going to be for.
So the Nats today, the Nats a playoff team today, or not?
No, not today. So my hope here is Strasburg will be back. Anibal Sanchez, who was really good last year, has been stinking it up this year. Max Scherzer, okay, Hall of Fame pitcher, but who beats a Hall of Fame pitcher? A guy called Father Time. He's 35 years old. A lot of these guys don't decline. A lot of times they simply fall off the edge of the table and they're done with. And it remains to be seen. I mean, Scherzer still getting his 10 strikeouts per 7 innings.
Tends to give up a lot of homers.
A lot of home runs. He doesn't give up a lot of walks. He's in the box all the time. But so.
Back to the Red Sox, and again, you're right, at this point I don't really care, but Rafael Devers, a horrible start, showing a little life. He had his first multiple extra base hit game today. No, he had 15 of those last year. He had 90 extra base hits last year, more than one every other game. He's finally above 200.
Yeah, I mean, it's spot all over. And listen, if you're not going to make the playoffs, you might as well finish last. Yeah. But their pitching, as I said,
don't
6.36. Their top pitcher ERA is Martin Perez with a 4.07.
What about Brandon Workman's even worse than that, huh?
Brandon Workman.
I've seen him do a couple decent jobs at saving.
4.76 ERA. Duke whip of 2.12. I mean, their team whip is 1.65. I mean, this is historically.
That's painful.
I mean, I assume things will get better, but they had a guy start today I've never even heard of. Kyle Hart.
Yeah, I haven't heard of half
and I
pitchers.
think what they did today was a bullpen day.
I think so. Actually, they pitched pretty well. The Phillies just got 3 hits off him today. They pitched actually pretty well.
But guys on this team, and granted, I'm a National League guy, but Zach Godfrey, Phillips Valdez, Colton Brewer, Austin Bryce, Josh Osich.
Yeah, Osich.
Ryan Brazier, heard of Dylan Covey, Chris Mazza, Jeff Springs, Matt Hall, Josh Taylor, Robert Stock.
He was. I saw him. I think in his first game, he was brutal. And I love how I tell you how your Habs are a colorless team. Mm-hmm. They were, comparing your Habs to the Red Sox. The names you just gave me, Habs are the most, incredible marquee laden team I've ever heard of. That's pathetic.
Yeah,
but a good season for it, I guess.
And when you're going out for free agents, and the LA Angels have been terrible.
Yeah,
they have a Hall of Fame
despite your fine third baseman,
Mike Trout. This generation, arguably the best player.
Boy, God,
but they never make the playoffs.
Attention.
So they went out and signed Anthony Rendon for close to $250 million. Wow. Okay. And again, I hate to be redundant here.
You were certainly sorry to see him go.
Oh, I loved Anthony Rendon.
You wouldn't have paid him those buckos?
If we had it, but we were up against the luxury tax. So getting Anthony Rendon, Duke, that has propelled the LA Angels to the 4th worst team in all of baseball with an 8-16 record. The Angels pitching staff is horrendous. That is mismanagement of money where they should have sunk it into pitching. And if you're going out after a free agent pitcher, indubitably, if that's the correct word, you're going to have to overpay to get that pitcher. Yeah. I mean, is Steven Strasburg a $35 million a year pitcher?
And how old is Strasburg? 32, 33?
31 now.
31.
Yeah, and he signed Duke through 38 years of age.
More years. Wow.
And he's had a history of...
he does have a history of some injuries.
And, boy, I hang on here.
So again, the Nets' biggest issue this year, just not much hitting. Not
inconsistency is what it is. But, okay, Steven Strasburg, people don't realize this. He's got the 6th best ERA of active pitchers' lifetime.
Wow.
Clayton Kershaw, who unfortunately would have been a top 5 all-time pitcher if he didn't have his back issues the last few years.
And is he not pitching right now?
He has been pitching, but he has had back issues as well. Clayton Kershaw, 2.44 lifetime ERA. Okay,
really?
Jacob deGrom, the 2-time Cy Young winning pitcher from the Mets, is 2.61. Chris Sale, 3.02. And of course, my issue with Chris Sale is the same issue I had with Pedro Martinez. You don't have a body.
Yeah,
these guys
didn't slow Pedro down too much.
And I might keep Pedro in the top 10 all-time great pitchers. And my argument there is Pedro pitched during the steroid era, and his ERA was like a half run better than the next pitcher.
Yeah.
So Corey Kluber is 1.15. Madison Bumgarner is 3.18.
Well, Madison has not fared well with his new team, wherever that. Where is he?
I believe he's with the Diamondbacks.
Could be.
So,
Not faring well.
Yeah.
I would have taken a chance on him for cheap.
Strasburg, aforementioned, 3.19. Max Scherzer, 3.20. Yankee star pitcher, 3.20. David Price, ninth all-time active pitchers, 3.30. And, of course, when he was pitching for the Tampa Rays, zero pressure before 14,000 fans, he was great. Went to Toronto, so went to the Red Sox. Horrible. Gets traded along with Mookie Betts, and he opted out. Due to the
I gave that stat on Jacob deGrom a couple shows ago, I think. What a stat. I think 47% of his starts, one run or less. That's unreal.
Yeah, he had a long string of games where he did not give up more than 3 runs.
Wow.
And last, number 10, Justin Verlander at 3.32.
Wow.
So, but with that being said, you have to stay healthy. So while I'm on the list, too, and Red Sox fans, take it seriously about your losing. You want to lose. Okay. Now, you still can watch the game, and you're not that far away from spring training. Okay. It's going to be a short off season, but just to show you, these are the number 1 picks, Duke, since the start of the millennium. And whether they pick 1 or 2, it's going to be the same type caliber player. 2000, old friend Adrian Gonzalez, picked by the Marlins. Joe Mauer just retired this past year, 2001 with the Twinkies. Brian Bullington with the Pirates turned out to be nothing. Delman Young with the Rays in 03, all right career. Matt Bush was a bust in 04 with the Padres. 05, Justin Upton with the D-backs had a good career. Luke Overchar, who's still pitching as a relief pitcher, waste. David Price, 2007. By the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays were really bad. They had to pick 2 years in a row, 08. They took shortstop Tim Beckham, who's a pretty good player. Then the 100-plus loss seasons of the Washington Nationals. 09, we took Strasburg. 2010, Bryce Harper. 2011, and a guy who signed a huge contract, but I think really worth it, Garrett Cole, picked by the Pirates, and Pirates traded him to Houston, and of course he pitched last year in the World Series.
Landed with the
Yankees. Great young shortstop of the Astros, 2012, Carlos Correa. And after that, their guys, they're still kind of early to see. But it's so important to get that premium player. And again, the Red Sox, being such a great team over the years, whether they're in the World Series or not, they're in the playoffs every year. And, of course, a lot of it can be attributed to their deep pockets where they didn't care back then about how much they spent, because it was an atrocity to me that they were spending $260 million on their payroll, playing teams literally with a third amount of payroll. But it caught up with them.
Last year, Tampa Bay beat them. Red Sox were not a playoff team, and Tampa Bay doing their usual great job. They don't seem to be missing Chaim Bloom too much. What, a game and a half ahead of the Yankees, I think?
I find
Tampa Bay, what an unreal story. Too bad nobody cares about them.
Where is it? Tampa. And every year, I just don't take them all that seriously. They're game and a half behind the Yankees that have the second best record in baseball.
Game and a half ahead of the Yankees, correct?
Behind the Yankees. The Yankees are 16-7.
The only playoff team easily.
The only team with a better record, and they're loaded. They've got a kid named Mookie Betts on the team now. 18-7 in the LA Dodgers. But I will repeat myself. This year being such a short season, the 3 divisional winners in each league, plus the second-place teams, and then you get the 2 teams with the best records, regardless of what division. So 8 teams in the playoffs. And I think it's a good idea for this year because, pretty much anything goes.
Such a weird year.
And the National League is using the DH, and I find it somewhat refreshing
Really?
just to get a taste of it in the National League since I've never.
That's kind of, they're never going to go back to pitchers batting, are they?
Duke, you're right. The union's going to want the DH just because that 25th player is going to be earning a lot more money.
Yeah, but I think pitchers have batted for the last time.
Yeah, and Max Scherzer, who's a really good pitcher.
So what about baseball again? I thought Major League Baseball made a mistake by even trying to shoehorn the season in, but they're getting away with it to some extent. There were a few more cancellations recently, though.
Yeah.
Somebody canceled some games, but you're thinking at this point, you think they'll pull it off?
Nobody's died. They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be overstating it a little bit, but it looks like they're hanging.
Well,
although the Cardinals, what do you do with the Cardinals?
Well,
Aren't they down 8 or 9 games or something?
Yeah.
What do you do with them? Bunch of doubleheaders?
They're having a bunch of 7-inning doubleheaders, but you just can't shut the country down completely.
Yeah, I agree. You can't shut the country down completely, but I think you can. You're gonna give me a case for college football. I think college football is insane.
Well,
Ben Volen in the Globe Sunday.
If you want to go to that
He
extent,
should make you happy. He said, "Pro football, I'll buy. College football is insane," and I tend to agree with him. Just trying to see his headline. I don't have it in front of me, I guess. Anyway.
Well, I'm all for football.
But I'm talking college.
Football is fine.
I know where you are for college football. Think of the bodies concerned. Did you catch the news about my alma mater a couple days ago? UNC Chapel Hill had students come back. I think one of the fraternities went tons of cases and stuff. They just told us national news story. Okay, everybody, stay away. Online for everything. Don't come near the campus. Thousands of kids who had probably already put money down for apartments and stuff. I think college is a totally different ballgame.
I'll tell you what, if I was in college right now, I certainly would have taken the year off.
I was going to say, I'd be taking if my kid was going to college, gap year.
Yeah, it's one thing to go to college, to get good grades. That's the most important thing, but you also want that experience.
Oh, sure.
Well, look at what Burlington's doing. The mayor down there shutting bars down at 10 o'clock.
That was a story.
That's crazy.
Bar people are not happy about that. I just think there's a world of difference between college football and pro football. I don't see the story I was after.
So, high school football, do you think they're doing the right thing by playing slap and tackle?
Sorry, here's my headline.
Okay.
It was inside. Why the NFL can play and colleges can't. Ben Volen, can I get into this a little bit?
Sure.
And I'll let you obviously counter. This is from the Sunday Globe last week when Dr. Jonathan Dresner considered how much is still unknown about COVID-19. He just couldn't recommend that Pac-12 colleges play football or any other sport this fall. I hadn't read this too much before. Anyway, I won't.
Well,
I just think there's a world of difference there.
In high school
and it sounds
football,
like the pros, for the record, are off to, I guess, a pretty decent start so far. Pro football.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to be well trained going into.
No, I just mean staying away from the virus at this point.
They literally just got into pads 2 days ago.
Yeah.
There's very little hitting going on.
But here's the question: the ACC seems to be on the, could go either way at this point. Again, Big Ten and Pac-12, no football. ACC, SEC will go down kicking and screaming. They'll obviously be the last people to concede football. But does it make sense to you, UNC students, 30,000 plus, don't go near campus? We got too many problems. But football players, do your thing.
Yeah.
Let's hope for football. Does that make sense?
Agree. There should be some consistency within that school.
That sounds absurd.
But don't confuse yourself that an athlete at a big major Division I school is a student, because the truth is they're not. There may be a few, but
I love Dan Patrick got into that, right? We've talked about student athletes before, a term that drives me crazy. Right. John Feinstein. Dan Patrick referenced out this week on a sports show and said, please don't ever talk about student athletes. Talk about athletic students if you want. I thought that was a better term.
Duke, I look at an athlete for major Division I sports is no different than the custodian.
Yeah.
They're hired help, and that's what they are. Yeah. So Vermont High School, which has gotten a lot of publicity, there's a kid on the Seaview Redhawks that was obviously upset. He started an online petition, and I haven't followed it. I know within 24 hours, he had over 2,400 signatures to get tackle football. But we touched on this last week. So, to me, you either play football or you don't play it, and again, it's going to be a slap and tickle league.
You're not up for flag.
It's not flag.
I think I played some flag football in college.
You can expect a center snapping the ball to the quarterback and 5 receivers going out for passes and 7 guys trying to defend them. If the ball is completed, it's one-hand touch and the play is dead. So what else is involved on 7-on-7? Okay. For every possession, Duke, the ball is placed at the 40-yard line. 40 yards to gain to reach the end zone. What is this? The quarterback has 4 seconds to throw the ball, and every pass must be forward, but teams are allowed to lateral after completed catch. This is a passing game. That means no running, no rushing the quarterback on defense with blitzes, nor can you count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, then crash through the line of scrimmage. This isn't football. A team has 3 downs to score a touchdown or reach the first down markers. To achieve a fresh set of downs, a team must reach the 25 or 10-yard lines. There's no kicking or special teams. After a touchdown, they can either elect to go for a 1-point or 5-yard line for a 2-point play.
Boy, that sure sounds, and you're the football guy, that sure sounds like why bother if that's what you're going to do?
Blocking is not allowed. No pads are needed, but players, why? Will have to wear helmets. It's one-hand touch for crying out loud. And, of course, facial jerseys and team jerseys. And for game time, Duke, with this really tiring game of one-hand touch, the proposal is 4 10-minute quarters with a 10-minute halftime. Why? Either. And they should play, as I've noted last week, there's been 12 deaths in this country of school-aged kids, where you compare that to the common flu, which is commonly over 100 every year. So, I mean, you want to shut things down. You go to Hannaford's or your Price Chopper, those jobs are a lot more online than this other stuff we're talking about. So, but who would waste their time, seriously, a football player? And of course, they also noted in here, what if you're 240 pounds, Duke? And I also noted that last week. The great thing about the game of football is there is room for everyone, no matter what your physical stature is. You're 130 pounds soaking wet. You know what? You can play cornerback, safety, something of that nature. Big kid, you're on the line.
So in NFL, September 10, so you're just totally confident the pro football will hold?
Absolutely.
Interesting. So I heard Arrowhead Stadium, they're going to allow 22% of capacity. Chicago, no fans. Are a lot of these teams not decided yet on the fan situation?
I know for a fact the Giants and Jets playing in Jersey.
No fans, obviously.
Liberal Governor Phil Murphy is absolutely no fans.
So no fans. But have a lot. The Pats, I haven't heard a word. I assume no fans, but are some of the teams haven't decided yet on the fan issue? I guess Kansas City is the first team I heard that will allow some fans in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't know.
But quickly getting back to high school, and as far as fans are concerned, you give 2 tickets to each player. Just say there's 30 guys on the team, so that's 60 people will be in the stands, and you can more than easily achieve your 6-foot social distancing. So, I need to touch on the big linemen. So what they're going to do is they're going to play on a side field.
Sorry, who are we talking about?
The linemen.
Okay.
Because this one-hand touch, you're fast guys. It's a passing game. It just run down the field and I'm going to chuck the ball. But then you got the big fellas, okay? Well, they're going to give them a game concurrently on the other side of the field, on the practice field. They'll let the big fellas play one-hand touch passing. So it's a joke. Nothing short of that, and shame on the Vermont headmasters for doing that. If they really didn't want to play football, then just say, sorry, we're wimps. We don't want to play football. So sad but true. So golf this week.
I'm all over. Actually, I
All
did
right.
some research. I'm all over FedEx playoffs. You want any information?
I want
me,
all you
come
can give
through.
me because your
on
favorite
top of
golfer,
FedEx.
Tiger, is back this week.
Hardly my favorite golfer, but Tiger is back. Tiger is either 47th or 49th in FedEx standings now. Again, it's we got 3 tourneys to go. They bagged one of the tourneys going into the FedEx, so we got 3 tourneys, and the first one in the Boston area, TPC.
Where is that
Boston. For the
exactly?
record, it's in Norton, Mass.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever been in Norton. I think it's down kind of maybe a little towards Foxborough, down that way, southwest of Boston. But anyway. And Tiger is playing. In fact, that's when the last time. You're always on Tiger's case. Tiger, you got
For
to
not
play
playing.
golf.
Exactly.
This will be, I guess he intends to play all 3 weeks here, assuming he hangs in there. He hasn't played, the last time he played 2 consecutive weeks was February 2019, I think, at some point last year. And the last time, 3 weeks, 3 in a row, maybe 2018.
So,
Anyway, so it's the top 125 players coming up for the Northern Trust starting tomorrow, the start of the FedEx playoffs, top 125. And Brooks Koepka, that was news today, he's out. He has, I guess, had recurring knee injuries.
Okay.
I wasn't even sure. I think he's gone because I guess he was obviously in the top 125. And after this, it's the top 70 for the next tourney, BMW Championships, Olympia Fields. And I'm embarrassed to say, I don't know what state that is. Olympia's at Washington?
Olympia Fields, Illinois.
Oh, well, I was
Won last
way
year by
off.
Justin
Thank
Thomas.
you. And then, of course, as always, the last one, the Tour Championship itself in Eastlake outside Atlanta. So it used to be 4 of these. They've cut it down to 3. So we go from 125 players this week to 70, then to the top 30. And another change, you may recall, 2 years ago, 2018, Tiger actually won Eastlake, the Tour Championship. But guess what? He didn't pocket, not that he needed it probably, the then, I think, 10 mil.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Rose still had more points. I think Justin Rose came in like 2nd or 3rd. So they bagged that. If you win the last one, if you're in that final 30 and you win on Sunday,
Okay.
a few weeks down the road, you win the FedEx Cup, and we're talking 15 mil now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
talk about all about the money.
Wow.
I mean, we talk about that.
So when did it jump from 10 to 15? This year?
I think Rory McIlroy won last year. I think Rory pocketed 15 last year. I think probably last year it went up
Okay.
from 10 to 15. So again, top 125 this week. You want Justin Thomas, number 1. Colin Morikawa coming off his great win, great kid,
Yeah.
in the PGA, number 2. Webb Simpson, winner of the RBC Heritage in Hilton Head earlier, number 3. Bryson DeChambeau, number 4. Sungjae Im, number 5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have 6 and 7. McIlroy, number 8. And I had Tiger 47. I heard he was 49 today. I can only assume John Rahm is another top 10 guy. So anyway, but it's kind of fun. And U.S. Open comes up right when they finish this. I think maybe the next week or the week after they finish FedEx. And of course, Masters just announced, I think since we last spoke, no fans in November.
Yeah.
So I think, God, I'm loving. There's nothing I like more than these tourneys on TV tourneys.
And I, as well, enjoy watching golf, but I'm inundated by so much. I've got 3
you got
games
so
to
much
watch
going on.
tonight.
So again, you have obviously
I'm
Celtics,
going to
Habs,
watch the
and
Celtics, then I'm going to watch the Canadians, then I'm going to watch the Nats.
and the Nats. Okay.
And
wow.
tomorrow night, do you know how many games I have to watch?
No.
0.
Oh, is that right?
When it rains, it pours.
Interesting. Oh, so here I should talk the format. I think they did something like this last year, maybe no change. So what they're doing, if you make it to Eastlake, if you're in the top 30, if you're the number 1 guy, they give you start off minus 10. They did something like this last year, maybe the same thing.
Okay.
So if you're the top ranked player, you start off hole 1, 10 under. The number 2 player, 8 under. Number 3, 7 under. Number 4, 6 under. Number 5, 5 under, 6 through 10, 4 under, 11 through 15, 3 under, 16 through 22 under, 21 through 25, 1 under, 26 through 30, even par.
Handicap.
So if you're the top guy, right,
Yeah.
basically you get a 10-stroke handicap there.
Yeah.
So interesting, but I'll get into this. I'll get into this some.
Yeah.
But Brooks, I was talking about Brooks Koepka, not your favorite guy, although,
Right.
Hawk, for years you've said Duke. These guys like Pete Sampras, great tennis player, but what a dull guy.
Dull.
I would think, Brooks Koepka is anything but dull. I would think you'd appreciate that a bit because he's not your cookie cutter, typical,
Okay.
well-heeled pro. Again, he's a guy like Justin Day who had a pretty hard scrabble upbringing. I would think you'd like him more. The guy's got some swagger to him.
My favorite people, my very favorite golfer may in fact be
I love
Jason Day.
In fact, I wonder, did I say Justin Day?
Yeah.
I love Jason Day. I don't.
Paul Casey, who we talked about
Love
last
Paul
week.
Casey.
I like nice people. This
Yeah.
Justin Thomas sounds like a drunken sailor. I mean,
Is that right? So you said you've heard him.
Oh, I heard him on TV. At first you hear like, oh, did I hear what I just heard?
Yeah.
And then like 2 minutes later, it's an F this. And you know.
I guess I don't
know if I
as
play
much of a
choir
problem.
boy here on television,
Yeah.
but you know, golf is the gentleman's game, right? Or supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
I like nice
but again,
people.
But
That's
you
all.
beat
It's that
up you
simple.
beat up some of the tennis players for being just too nice. Like I'm saying, hey, Brooks Koepka is an edgy guy, and of course he ate some humble pie. Probably a lot of the pros loved it. Before the last round of the PGA, he's 2 off the lead, and of course he's asked about, hey Brooks, you got a bunch of these guys ahead of you. Oh yeah, big deal. How many majors have they won?
Yeah.
And he had a horrible last day, and then screwed up. Didn't even, I think, make the cut in the Wyndham. Anyway, that was interesting. Did you catch
Well,
any of the Wyndham?
That was my
I'm
next
sure you
question.
can tell me who the winner was.
It amazes me.
Actually, it's I think a good
Jim
friend of your
Herman.
president friend.
Jim Herman won.
Jim Herman, yeah.
Who I know nothing about. But
It
it's
was his
amazing me.
third win.
After the majors, these tournaments are a bunch of Mr. Nobodies. You know, there are a few names there that are recognizable, but for the most part, people take the week off after a major.
Yeah, although in some cases it was the last qualifying for the FedEx. I mean, you could take the week off if you were in the top 125. For some of the players, probably like Jim Herman, that's the only reason he's playing tomorrow.
There's not one person right now on Main Street I can ask who Jim Herman is. It could tell me. You mentioned to me the other day that Webb Simpson was
did pretty well.
Unless you're a golf aficionado, Webb Simpson is not a big name either.
Well, I'd say he won TPC a year or two ago.
Yeah.
He's a middle name. You want any of the past winners of the FedEx? Only two-time winners. Probably not hard to guess.
Oh, Rory being one.
Yeah, well, if you got Rory, you should certainly get the other one.
And Brooks.
Well, how about Tiger?
Tiger was the other one.
The only two-time winners.
Yeah.
Rory last year, again, Justin Rose in 2018, when Tiger actually won the last championship, but Rose had more points. Your friend Justin Thomas the year before, Rory before that, and going back quickly, Jordan Spieth. Billy Horschel, it's interesting. Billy Horschel actually had a good tourney at Wyndham, but I remember that year, kind of a nobody name. He just got really hot at the end of the season, won a couple championships, and ended up pocketing that extra 10 mil. Before that, Henrik Stenson, Brent Stedeker, Bill Haas, Jim Furyk, Vijay Singh. But anyway, so I think that'll be kind of fun.
I used to enjoy watching Vijay Singh. And there's a guy
who's always had some kind of issues kind of lurking over him.
Well, I think, urine on. I don't know if he put on his golf ball or what it was.
And I think there was some cheating or alleged cheating way back when.
But that guy, he's in his 50s now. He was a machine out there. Very methodical.
Yeah, good word.
Didn't have that much personality, perhaps.
And I think in part because of the media, because there were always issues. So he wasn't one kind of like Jim Rice, wasn't one who had a lot of fun dealing with the media.
But we mentioned Jason Day, but I never asked you the question.
Yeah.
Where's he been the last couple of years?
I think in injuries, I think is the pretty quick answer. I think he's had some significant injuries.
Because I noticed on the last day during the PGA, his name was down around 18th, and I said, oh, it's nice to see his name.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he was playing really well, and he just creeped up
I
the
wish I had the
leaderboard.
list of the 125. I got to think Jason, I'm guessing, is like
I
probably
would
top
hope so.
25
Yeah.
or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, he's somebody to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm psyched. And the tournament in Massachusetts, Boston area, they flip between that site and New Jersey every other year. So Boston area gets it this year. It'll
okay.
be in New Jersey next year.
Okay.
But again, that starts tomorrow.
Now, was there
So thank you, golf. Golf has kind of been my salvation to our kind of, until last
Yeah,
few weeks,
yeah.
lack of sports.
Yeah. What's really weird with the sports going on is Bruins had to play 11 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
and that was due to the fact there was a
With the five
overtime,
overtime.
which I believe was the sixth longest game
Boy,
in
just-
NHL.
just the sixth longest.
So understandable, that was kind of strange, but they also had a 12 noon game. I
Yeah.
think they went from 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
one I spaced
down to
out
12
on.
noon, right.
Yeah.
I think it was Saturday.
Yeah.
But when you have those super early games like that, it's pretty hard, for the folks out there working.
Yeah.
Unless they DVR it and
Yeah.
their friends at work can not utter words to let them know.
Can I go back to Tuca again? Kevin Paul DuPont, I think he's about as well respected
Oh,
as any
absolutely.
hockey writer. Can I just give you a little of his
Yep.
about Tuca? Again, the inside headline, sympathy aside, it's time to move on. And you're right, Tuca has 1 year left in his contract. Look, we really don't know what's going on here because whatever the state of Rast's family dynamics, whatever influence they have on his mindset for the job, that's his business. Until, of course, TMZ drops a video on us. What we do know with absolute certainty, though, is that Rast now twice has proven he's unable to balance being both family man and franchise goalie. That's trouble. That's no way to run a hockey team. Never mind try to survive 4 grueling rounds, potentially, of postseason play and capture what would be the franchise's 7th Stanley Cup in its near century of existence. All of which points to Rast not being here forever, if ever. The 2021 season starts. It's time for both sides to shake hands, recall the many good memories, and move on to situations that are better, more predictable fits for both. For two sides bonded over a ring of vulcanized rubber, this is not a marriage that works. I talked to my good friend Nick Haddon at Tennis Monday, who's a big sports guy. He was totally sympathetic, and I respect Nick's viewpoint totally. He was just sympathetic. Hey, Richard, he's got a family situation, and I just kept saying, Nick, I understand that, but the timing, I just can't get past the timing of this.
Let me say this. I was somewhat sympathetic on Monday after I read today
Less
that
sympathetic?
his daughter was ill.
I didn't know. I didn't know that.
So I found that out today. So my opinion has
So you're more
changed.
sympathetic.
Unless it was a life and death situation. The reason, Tuca, you have such an amazing lifestyle is you're pocketing $10 million a year.
Is that what he's
Right
making?
around there is like the third highest paid.
Yeah.
And the reason why you and your family can go on great vacations, own big houses, big cars.
What's it? As a daughter, it's not coronavirus.
No,
Just
they didn't
something?
indicate that, and I'm assuming it's not. But again, as I repeated, you have a responsibility to your 20 teammates, the management, and your millions of Boston Bruins fans. And the Bruins are somewhat like the Red Sox, that they have fans throughout the U.S. and Canada. So it's not a good look on him. And there's certainly zero concerns about COVID with nobody getting it during this whole time.
You're close to him.
Right.
DuPont does give him good words for being
He's a nice
good
guy.
and a good guy to interview.
He is a very good guy.
He also let me just note, from a media standpoint, he's a true joy, often glib and self-effacing. In a room full of players who increasingly recite near scripted, feckless responses and cliches, as they did Saturday when the news came out, when asked about him, he has often been a dependable, off-humorous quote.
I like
he seems
Tuca.
like a very good guy. And like I said, I think the Boston area sports fandom is a little, like I said, Maz and Felger get on his case.
Again, you're playing for the best team in the regular season. On the heels of being in the Stanley Cup Finals last year, which they probably should have won.
One game.
They were
One more
what,
game.
3-2 in games? weren't they? Up 3-2?
I guess I'm going back to game 7. Were they? I guess they were up
I think
3-2.
they were up 3-2.
I guess game 7's the one that I'll never forget.
Now, say Carey Price.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Say, and Carey Price, and he's been somewhat inconsistent in the last couple of years. The NHL
didn't he
players.
give up a soft goal in the last
Second
a long
one,
shot
yeah.
or something?
Second goal was a tad bit. So
Okay.
the NHL players this summer voted Carey Price as the top goaltender
Is that right?
in hockey.
Sounds like a reasonable pick.
But just say Carey Price decided to opt out.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a huge upset the Canadians had over the Penguins, okay? So that was my tiny little Stanley
Sure.
Cup I won.
Yeah.
The Canadians are going nowhere fast, and I can sit here and predict, just judging by this team, it's going to have to be a miracle for them to even make the playoffs. I just don't see enough talent on the forward lines.
Yeah.
And, the issue with the Canadians is they play in Montreal. You have two factors. Number one, okay, you think it's tough to play for the Boston Red Sox in that fishbowl. You try playing in Montreal.
I can't imagine.
There's not a more difficult market in the whole world to play. And number two, okay, people don't want to play. The taxes in Montreal/Quebec are enormous.
Yeah.
Enormous.
Not to mention, though, the weak Canadian dollar that seems stuck at about 75 cents per
So
long
you
US.
want to sign a contract, you go sign with Tampa or Miami, zero state taxes.
Yeah.
Sign with the Dallas Stars, zero state taxes. Sign with the Knights in Nevada, zero state taxes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're in it for the money, there's places to go.
Hey, another hockey note. Well, again, listen, I told you, I spent some time listening to the folks on AM 690, Team 690, especially Montreal Forum, Tony Marinaro. He wasn't the one man. Do you ever listen to those guys? That's
only during tax season.
I realize you're busy. That's some serious Habs talk. But anyway, but I was listening, and this is after the game when, I can't even think of the guy's name, but the Hurricanes, their great 20-year-old player who got that wicked bad knee injury. But anyway,
Are you talking about Sebastian Ayu?
No, because he was playing today.
Okay.
This is a guy, their 20-year-old young star who got tangled up with Zdeno Chara in front of them.
By the way,
that's what I'm getting
the Hurricane. The Hurricane, one of the best nicknames in all of sports.
Yeah.
Okay, when you try to link the team's nickname to the city, the state, the region, okay?
For the state, it makes sense.
But
Not
Carolina
so much Raleigh,
Hurricane, and they have a great logo, and they have a few different looking.
Hurricanes, plural,
Right.
for the record.
Just great.
Somebody else is raving about their jersey. I think my college friend Pamela, who's down in Maryland, she loves her jersey.
It's just a great looking logo. It's a great nickname. And then
of course, nay Hartford Whalers.
The other side of the coin, the LA Lakers. Name me, my friends out there, all the really famous lakes in Los Angeles. None. Why are they called the Lakers?
Goes
Of
back
course,
to Minneapolis.
the Minneapolis Lakers.
And Minnesota,
Minnesota's
I think, is billed
nickname,
as the world of 10,000
the
land of 10,000 lakes.
10,000 lakes.
Land of, thank
the
you.
Minneapolis Lakers. Great nickname, okay?
The LA Lakers.
Now, isn't the Colchester High School the Colchester Lakers, I believe?
I think so, yeah. That's
Colchester? You're right on the lake down there.
Yeah.
Great nickname.
Yeah.
So I love team nicknames, and there's some. And to this day, I don't know what a Red Sox is, and I don't know what a White Sox is.
Pale hose.
Now, the Red Sox had
At least
the
I don't have to
ultimate.
worry about changing their name from some people who they're upsetting. I don't think I've heard anybody upset about Red Sox or White Sox.
Back in 1900, before they were the Red Sox, they were the Boston Pilgrims. Duh.
Not a bad name.
Duh. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, New England Patriots, the Patriots.
Patriots, great nickname, and that always gets me going. They had the best logo in all sports.
Funny, I looked at my tee. You will see, thanks to my son, the original T-shirt, which I showed you. Ian came up
the
with
Minuteman.
The Minuteman.
Great logo. Then about 20 years ago, they go to that corporate looking. And it was horrible.
Let me get back
anyways,
to this.
I got you off.
That's okay. That's fine. But back to 690. So they're talking about that inch. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Boy, the guy got Zdeno. What's he? 6'7",
Yep.
huge guy, and the guy gets tangled up just in Zdeno's skate. States. It wasn't Tony Marinaro, the host on the Montreal Forum, somebody else. I don't know who it was, but he made a big point. He went on for about 15 minutes saying, boy, this just seems to happen more often than it should. Of course, you can remember when Zdeno took out one of your guys. How many, wasn't that a hab right along the bench there?
There was 6 seconds left in the period.
Wow.
And Zdeno Chara took Max Pacioretty and leveled his head in the stanchion.
Wow.
And I swear, he dropped like he was shot on the beaches of Utah Beach. Okay, I said to myself, watching that game live, I said, oh, my God, Max Pacioretty is dead.
Is that you really thought he might?
I thought he was dead.
Wow.
That's probably the only time watching sports I thought this guy is
unreal.
dead. And it was uncalled for with 6 seconds left in the period.
Well, I think Rod Brindamauer didn't have an issue with this. Most everybody, I think, said, hey, just one of those unfortunate things. But this guy said, boy, just seems to me Zdeno, this happens with Zdeno in particular, way more than just a happenstance. Right. And then the other guy who maybe it was Tony said, I don't think you can beat him up over this particular thing, but the other guy said, hey, it's happened too much for me, no accountability. Okay. So he got on Zdeno.
The only thing I say about Chara is when you're 6 feet 7 inches, the tallest player in hockey, you're going to tend to play a physical game. That is the body God gave you. Now, there are guys, believe it or not, as small as 5'7" in hockey. Well, they're not capable of possessing.
How big's Johnny Hockey? Johnny Gaudreau is not
a big fellow. He's probably 5'10". You know, they always cheat on their
So that's
height.
not in your mind. I was just curious if that's not in your mind so much.
You know, I've never really had a bad word for Chara. And God bless him. What is he, 38 years old and still playing hockey?
I think you're way off. I think he's like 42, 43.
Is that old?
I think so.
And he still plays a competent game.
A decent game.
You know, he plays obviously a lot less minutes than he did in his prime. But
did you speaking of hit? Did you see McAvoy's hit on Jordan Stahl a couple games ago?
I did see that. Yes.
And the Boston, I mean, totally clean. Boy, that's the Boston announcers today said, hey, Jordan Stahl's had a great career, big guy, 14 years.
Yep.
They said we don't think he's ever been nailed.
No.
More than that. Totally clean hit, Hawk?
I thought so, but here's the reason why.
I got to think, if you're Charlie McAvoy, you're going to be watch Jordan Stahl for the rest of your career.
Yeah, the reason you're talking about it right now is simply because there's so few big hits in hockey anymore. I mean, it's still there. I mean, as far as dropping gloves, rarely happens anymore.
Reminds me of a hit from Torrey Krug, who I love. I'm still freaked out. I'm just so afraid.
He'll be gone after the season.
Boy,
I will give you a Nighthawk guarantee
just because
that this is Torrey Krug's last season.
You might well be right. That's going to freak me out. Just because just the money issue. You just don't think they're going to have enough to pay him. But remember the hit he took? It was running. I think somebody had hit him. I forget who it was. I think it was last year. He just was going down and he's not a big guy. He just nailed somebody. But you're making the point that you think about that because there's just so few hits like that.
Absolutely. Now, the Canadians may kick the tires on Krug because he's an excellent offensive player.
I love Torrey Krug.
He's a smallish player, not that special on defense. But
although I don't think
his forte.
And he's a big power
play guy. Exactly, and that's what Montreal would want him for.
But I don't think he's a deficient defensive player, but for more offense than defense.
I mean, if he didn't have his offensive capabilities, he wouldn't be in the
that's going to make me think of when the Bruins also lost a defenseman. I love Johnny Boykins. Have I got
Johnny Boychuk?
Boychuk, close to the Islanders.
They didn't have the money,
just money,
and it was simple. Johnny, we love you, but we don't have the coin, and you're gone. And
I fear you may be right, and I'm going to be really sad if that happens.
And the Canadians do all kinds of money.
A lot of money.
Ton of money because nobody wants to sign there.
Well, I was going to say that's a big issue.
It's huge.
Just not a lot of people want to go there.
It's huge. And you get behind a goal.
And the language is probably, I mean, most of these guys are English speaking. Is the language, is that a bit of a factor?
I've never really heard that.
Not really
you
that.
can hearken back to the days of the Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
There's never been one player that played for the Expos that did not love playing in Montreal. And I know you love Montreal.
Absolutely.
One of
As
your
much as
favorite
I
cities.
Ignored it. Great city.
Yeah.
That brings to mind Chris Spire. I gave Chris a lot of credit because he was one of the few Expos
Lived there
that lived in
full-time.
Saint Adele, up in the Laurentians, I think.
Yep.
Lived there year
married a
round.
Montreal girl, if
Oh,
I'm
is that
not
right?
mistaken. Yeah. And it's so
Interesting.
funny. I used to go to Montreal all the time.
Yeah. For games. I mean,
for
you were
games, for
15,
sports.
20 games
And,
a year.
I'd go out for concerts. I've had a couple of concerts, of course, in Montreal. God, I'm trying to remember. One was
Jeez.
Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings together.
Really? That's of Guess Who fame, who's
Guess Who
Canadian,
fame.
of course.
And of course, Randy Bachman went on to Bachman Turner Overdrive fame, and Burton Cummings had a highly successful.
Boy, you're great. How much music have you lost with the pandemic? You had a bunch of things scheduled?
I probably have lost 5 to 6 concerts
Really?
this year because I love live music.
Hey, I thought of you
I've
yesterday.
lost 4 plays
Wow.
at St. Michael's this
And of
summer.
course, Cape Cod, you guys love Cape Cod. You
Cape
bagged
Cod, I
that.
just told my wife today, I says, guess what we're doing Monday?
Yeah.
And she goes, what? I go, we're leaving 2 in the morning for Cape Cod.
Are you serious?
Well, we're not going, but it's the last week of August. We always go.
Okay.
Why? Because that's when school starts up.
Yeah.
And it's a lot
I mean,
less
that's
people.
a trip you could do, but just without the
Well,
plays and stuff, you wouldn't do
Right.
it.
I had music.
You just don't want to do the beach, just if you
Right,
only
the
had
beach is great, and a guy that lived about 3 spits away from the ocean,
Yeah.
and I remember being back of your house. In his house, folks, I don't want to make him sound like Richie Rich here, was a 3-story, all wood.
And of course, I've told you, Sister Sally, who's been in the house after my mother died 25 years ago, I'm sure I've told you that she's convinced, and they'll sell it at some point. They've got 3 kids, and unfortunately, one of their daughters is not going to be able to buy out the other
Sure.
2 daughters for that property. But she's convinced whoever buys that house, who would have some pretty good money in their pockets, will knock that house down in 1 second
Duke, it's-
and put up a McMansion.
Right, but it's
But I love
almost,
the house.
It's almost like a McMansion.
It's a big house.
Now, your father built that house.
No, my father.
Oh, I thought he did.
No, they bought it in 1949, a year before I showed up.
Okay.
They were living across the harbor in
Yeah.
Crow's Point section of Hingham.
But-
No, he didn't build it.
But I remember you had a nice hammock in the backyard,
Yeah.
and I'm
And the
out
front
there,
porch, and the porch overlooking the harbor is just.
and I'm going to
beautiful.
myself on the hammock. Where would they go on vacation? I mean,
Yeah.
how much more tranquil?
I don't think they went
Can
on
you get right
vacation
here?
in summer too much.
Yeah,
No, it's
and
a
of
neat
course,
house.
when you get high tide,
Yeah.
you jump off the back wall.
Oh, sure, jump off the seawall, yeah. I mean,
Off
I
the
was probably
seawall, yeah.
swimming at age, I don't know, 3,
Yeah.
4, or 5
Yeah.
or something.
Right.
No, it's a neat house.
But you know-
glad you saw it.
What swimming in clean water
Yeah.
is all about.
And of course, I grew up with clam diggers literally right below the seawall doing their
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
only to be knocked out of there with
Yeah,
Boston Harbor
yeah.
pollution, which brings to mind that great, effective George H.W. Bush commercial against Michael Dukakis, the Massachusetts governor who he beat.
Well, I remember him in a tank.
Oh, the tank, the famous,
Right.
sure. But that hurt him big time. But so this is a great commercial by Bush. He's out in a just motorboat, speedboat in Boston Harbor saying, boy, Governor Dukakis, you wouldn't catch me swimming in this water. It's the most polluted harbor in the country, and this is your state. Oh, very effective ad.
Is Boston Harbor polluted?
No, they've come back. Under federal mandates. They
Okay.
cleaned it up big time. Clam diggers have been back for years in Hingham, I
Okay,
think.
okay.
No, the harbor water
Yeah.
is so resilient. It's come back.
Yeah.
Oh, that Lake Champlain could do that at some point.
But I'm in Hyannis, and was it Barnstable?
Yeah,
How- is that-
Hyannis is, I think, incorporated village in the town of Barnstable.
And that's how you pronounce it. And
Yeah.
so this is the next town over, and I drive to Barnstable to Kalmus, Kalmus Beach. Absolutely, state park. They
Yeah.
don't open until 9.
Huh.
Long beach, beautiful with sand dunes.
Wow.
So during the daytime, Duke,
Yeah.
my wife and I will
Yeah.
put up the canopy.
Wow.
And I do what I do almost every day.
Yeah.
I'll read, go out in the water for
Yeah.
a while, come back, listen to music, go back out on the waterfront. It's just a very, very nice, quiet, clean water. Even Mrs. Nighthawk
And again,
will
you
go in the
could
water.
still do that, I assume, but without the other activities.
But I
it just
want my
kills it.
nighttime activity where I go to a play, I go to the Cape Cod Melody Tent, which gets major acts down there for that. And, and, you know, you get everything. And I still always say to my wife every year, I say, I know this is going to sound strange, but I probably enjoy this more than going out on a cruise. I mean, it's how nice it is down there. And they're all really nice people down there.
And my vineyard, if I don't make it to see Clayman on Martha's Vineyard this summer, it'd be the first non-summer visit in a quarter century anyway.
And I'm not talking politics, but sometimes I think out loud. I love numbers. I love math. So the former First Lady, Mrs. Obama, gave an address from her.
Caught a minute or two.
From her $11 million.
Oh, was she on the vineyard?
Nantucket.
Actually, it's a vineyard.
No, vineyard. Martha's Vineyard.
And guess who she's within a mile of or so?
Clayman. Yeah, your buddy at the
very close.
Now, so I'm going to myself.
Oh, I didn't know she was coming in from the vineyard.
I'm saying, well, Barack was always a community organizer, probably didn't make a ton of money. Technically, he was a lawyer and became a one-term U.S. Senator in Illinois. I'm assuming they probably make a couple $100,000 a year. They probably don't make more than the president, which may still be at $250,000.
The president makes nothing in terms of pure salary.
So I'm thinking to myself, how do they afford?
Well, how about books? Because
I know they've written books, but I can't believe because. What do you think the property tax at Martha Vineyard for $11 million house?
I mean,
is
it's a lot,
each year?
but it's funny. Clayman, I pay for the record. I talk property taxes with Clayman every year. Guess who? This would seem to. And Clayman's got a very nice house that his brother built on the vineyard, about not far from the Obamas, about a mile from South Beach, as the crow flies. I mean, a very nice house. Tax appraised at probably $600,000. I think I've got a dead average St. Albans house.
If he's got
tax appraised at about $175,000. Guess who pays more in property taxes?
Okay.
I pay way more.
Okay. Poor Clam. He must be the biggest bum on the vineyard if he's got a house only worth $600,000.
Right. It speaks to.
Right.
But isn't that unreal? I pay way more property. I pay more property taxes on my camp than he pays on his very nice Edgartown house.
Why is
just
that?
Because he kind of touched on it with $11 million with just so much. Ernie Bach Jr. Ernie's got an incredible
Now, we've mentioned a
place.
few times your good buddy, who I've met a few times, the Clam Man. You really need to take a moment to explain what his name is and how in the world people have been calling him Clam Man literally for half a century.
My nickname. Oh, sure.
So explain his name and how he attained.
Clayman and I are, again, fellow 1968 Hingham, Massachusetts high school graduates, along with, for the record, Bruce Mann, husband of Senator Elizabeth Warren, which I've mentioned. Anyway, Clayman, we grew up, Hull, Massachusetts is a beach town that adjoins Hingham, a peninsula town, and gets nailed. Nantasket Beach is a nice beach there. They get nailed on nor'east storms. Anyway, Paragon Park was an amusement park I grew up with. It was there for forever. They finally bagged it maybe 20 years ago. Anyway, tons of food concessions. So Clayman was working the clam.
Tell them how old you were.
The fried clam. This is back in high school days. So we're talking mid to late 60s. Clayman's doing the clam concession.
His name?
Mark Jellos. Mark Jellos. Mark.
I've never heard you call him Mark.
Yeah, I call him Mark once in a while. But anyway, so he just happens to be doing the clam concession, right? Just one of the many food vendors there. I go down there all the time and see him. Rich, have a clam. Clam? I don't like clams. So he finally got me into fried clam. Took me a while to get into lobsters. But anyway, he was just from his one summer, just dispensing a ton of fried clams. He became my name, Clam Man. And he's very comfortable with the name.
And that's what everybody calls him.
Well, I'm not sure about, not everybody. Our friend Ruthie certainly calls him Mark. She's never called him Clam Man ever. But our friend Napper, another 68, same high school class, calls him Clam. No, he's mostly Mark, but Clam to me.
Great nickname. And for record, I love fried clams, but the problem is it's hit or
Whole
miss.
belly. I hope you're going to tell me you're not going to go near clam strips, I hope. You're talking
but you go to a
full
restaurant-
bellies. Sometimes you don't have the choice.
Right, and what you're buying for $19.95 is
Boy, they're not cheap.
breaded clams,
Yeah.
okay?
Sometimes
and
they're
there's
too
hardly
breaded.
any clam in it.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Bayside, at least, you used to get whole-bellied clams. Maybe they
Yeah.
still do once in a while.
Yeah.
They're a treat, but they're also very
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Hawk, we don't know. We should probably give the Celtics a little attention
Oh,
here.
gee
You
whiz.
got your hat. I got my shirt. So big game, boy. If they win tonight, they probably would move
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
I'm
The-
not conceding. I don't concede. I think Phillies is still a pretty. What about last game? Celtics marginally in control. Philly goes on a 15-0 run to get ahead.
Was it
in
a 15? I watched the
15-0
game, okay.
In the fourth period.
Okay, I'm starting to realize.
Oh, of course,
forever.
big injury,
Oh,
too.
Ben Simmons.
Oh, I was going to say Gordon Hayward.
Right.
Yeah, for
Okay,
Philly,
well,
a
we'll
huge
get into
injury.
Gordon. But
Yeah.
Ben Simmons, easily the top 10 player.
Yeah.
The kid can play defense as
All
well
right.
as he can play offense.
Yeah.
Granted, we will admit, and he doesn't have a great outside shot,
Yeah.
but he can drive through the paint. The
Yeah.
guy can do everything.
Very good player.
That turned that series,
Yeah.
in my opinion, to a toss-up to I expect Celtics to win in 5.
Now, have you gone the other way with Gordon Hayward's injury? That's a significant injury, isn't it?
He's a complimentary player
Yeah.
making $32 million a year.
Well, I
that
know,
was a
but-
bad signing by the Celtics.
Right, but I hear you. You've made that point many times.
But we have no money.
Right, but I mean, let's just talk about the
Oh.
games at hand here. Not having Gordon Hayward, isn't that a pretty
I don't think
significant
it's as
injury?
big as people make it out
No?
to be. Now, let's take an example. Game number 1.
Yeah.
I'll round it off. Jason Tatum had about 30 points.
32 points, 13 bounds, 6 assists, I think.
Right, but first half, he scored all his points.
Right, didn't
okay?
get much in the second
Not
half.
invisible, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because that's the greatness of the Celtics.
And Jaylen Brown kinda took over in the second half.
Was invisible in the first half.
Really?
He would score close to 30 points in the
Yeah,
second
29
half.
points
Then
total.
you throw in Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
Okay. Marcus Smart, and the team is deep. They don't have an overly great bench.
Yeah.
But Daniel Tice is playing really good at
Yeah.
center.
You got Mr. Cantor, the other.
Cantor and Rob Williams is getting some playing time.
Yeah, Williams sounds like he's been showing a little
Very
life.
athletic.
Yeah.
He didn't fare well game 1 against
All right.
Embiid.
Right.
Joel Embiid is probably your top
Yeah.
center
Yeah.
in basketball.
Anthony Davis are the top
but
two.
I was looking forward to the series with Simmons. I thought that was going to be
Yeah.
an epic series.
Yeah.
The
And
old-
you would have given at least slight advantage to Philly? Or close to a toss-up?
I would not have bet any money on the
Yeah.
series. Now, yeah, realistically, sure, the Celtics are not as strong
Yeah.
without Hayward. He's expected to be out 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
if we have the luxury of making it to the Eastern Conference Finals,
Yeah.
he should be back. But he's missed a lot of time with us since he signed
Kind
a
of an,
huge contract.
how would you put it? And kind of an average year that he had, or I don't know the stats, like 15 points a game or something. Is that a?
Yeah, dude, you got to excuse me for 90 seconds, okay? And so,
You'll come back, right?
no, I'll be back. My mic
Oh,
is
yeah,
on.
gotcha. Again, talking Celtics here, I guess I think the injury to Mr. Gordon Hayward was a little more significant than I think my good friend the Nighthawk thinks, but a good series. So game 2 tonight, again, we have about another 8 minutes with this show, and I think Phillies, how about 76ers? Philadelphia Celtics game starts very soon after we're off the air, but for Boston fans, again, the Red Sox, caller Bobby before said wasn't really paying any attention to the Red Sox. Can't really blame them. Terrible team, and as Nighthawk says, probably just as well this year that they are a terrible team and maybe pick up some good draft picks. But for Boston fans, there's a lot to like. Again, the Bruins have moved on to a second-round Stanley Cup series. Celtics playing tonight. They've got certainly at least a 50-50 shot to move on to another series. Pro football's cranking up. Patriots, of course, getting a lot of attention as they usually do. We'll see how Mr. Cam Cam Newton, figures into Foxborough and stuff. I'm just saying, Boston fans, even without the Red Sox, have a lot to be thankful for with Bruins and Celtics here.
Oh, listen, the Boston fans have been spoiled over the years.
I made this point before, and I hear you about Gordon Hayward. I agree, he's not, but I don't get so hung up on that because a point I made before, you have so many basketball players, bench guys, who never play or hardly play, who are, tell me if I'm wrong, are making $15 million anyway.
Yeah, right.
So I don't get hung up over.
But he's making $32 million.
Yeah.
Now,
I give you
in defense of
basketball.
of the Celtics,
Yeah.
who thought Jason Tatum was going to turn out to be this good?
Danny,
who thought Jaylen Brown was going to turn out to be this good?
I think Danny, well, maybe not this good, but I think Danny had pretty good feelings for Tatum in particular, right?
If you remember,
when he purposely didn't pick the guy who
they were the
Philly
second
got.
overall. I'm trying to remember, did Philadelphia trade up to get Markelle Fultz?
I'm not sure they traded up, but they were ahead. I mean, they were ahead of the Celtics.
And they traded up with the Celtics, and they took Markelle Fultz, and turned out to be one of the biggest busts in NBA history. Yeah. He currently resides in Orlando,
is that right?
But he can't shoot.
Hey, speaking of Orlando, that was a pretty big upset win for Orlando the other day. In fact, there have been some big upsets. Yeah. The Lakers got beaten by the number 8 Portland. Yeah. Well, who did Orlando? Orlando just had a.
Yeah. But LA Lakers lost last night, coming in with some "Make America Great Again" hat crossed out and some stuff. And let me just say this, and again, I hate talking politics on the show, but NBA ratings have tanked.
Really?
People are so sick and tired of all this. Well, they call it Black Lives Matter.
But I mean,
it's really Marxist government. It's Antifa, and people are talking. But I like politics as much as you do, but I don't integrate. I can't.
But you're. I mean, I guess it's clear to you. You're attributing this to all the.
Well, dude, what's on the back of the jerseys? It's not Duke.
Like I said, I haven't paid much attention to basketball.
It's all these social justice sayings and stuff like that.
So do you think that's why they're in the tank?
It's clearly in the tank. And
like I said, I'm just now focusing on basketball.
Matter on the court. It's and I'm happy that the ratings tank, because that will turn people off so much that they will never return to the NBA.
Really?
I put up with it, but it's highly noticeable. Every
just trying
game.
To find out, Orlando had a upset win. I'm trying to find out who they beat the other day.
So, and I do want to mention football. The New England Patriots, their tight end position last year was nothing.
Yeah.
They drafted 2 tight ends in the 3rd and 4th round.
Yeah.
And they say, and granted, it's the first week in pads, but the kid from UCLA, Devon Asashi or whatever, they said this guy has looked absolutely terrific. And the number 1 pick last year, that N'Keal Harry, has looked horrible in camp. He might turn out to be a bust.
Really?
And as far
number 1 draft pick
last year, and as far as quarterback, keep in mind it's August 18th.
Brian Hoyer supposedly had the best day yesterday or something.
They said possible it could be a quarterback rotation. Not that we've really ever seen that.
Let me just note, the team Orlando beat was Milwaukee. Sorry,
right.
A couple of upsets.
And so
football, we're cranking. Geez, we're not far away here. I mean, right? September 10th
on a Thursday night.
So the first game, most games the following Sunday. Everybody else the following Sunday.
The G-men are on a Monday night, which I'm glad for.
Again, against Dallas? No?
Pittsburgh.
Against Pittsburgh. Sorry.
Of course, that was
Dallas
a good guess.
wasn't a bad guess, right?
Right. They're playing Dallas in Week 5. And the only news
news coming out of the Giants game?
The Giants signed kicker Graham Cano. A few days ago, that'll be their new kicker, former Carolina Panther kicker. They had Aldrich Rojas, but he was in a hit and run, a couple incidents, and they cut him. And the only other bit of news, a guy nobody knows of, Cody Core. He's a wide receiver, but he's a special team ace, the best special team guy. He Achilles tendon today.
Oh, yeah.
He's out for the season. But, with no exhibition games, with no rookies or street free agents to look at,
hard to get much of a feel for
there's really no
this.
news in football.
And hard to get much of a feel for these teams, too.
Right, because I would be highly interested of what Jarrett Stidham looks like right now.
Yeah.
How Cam Newton is looking right now.
Yeah.
But, you know what you're going to hear in September.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, with no preseason game, this is literally like a preseason game. Well, I want them ready to go, and I want to see them perform. But, it's been a strange year.
Yeah. So, Giants, are they saying no fans all season, or just
Correct. Boy, I can't quote you
at least for this
season.
calendar year?
Yeah.
Well, that's the season.
That's the season, especially
So they're saying
for the Giants.
pretty much no fans,
Yeah.
huh?
And
so is Kansas City? Is that the one team that I've heard about that is going to have some
might
fans?
very
Maybe.
well be. And as much as I like to follow football, as we just mentioned, there's just not much because. Up till Monday, everybody was running around on their underwear.
Yeah.
Everybody looks great in a T-shirt and a pair of shorts.
Everybody looks great in spring training.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm in the best condition of my life. So
Down to a little less than 1 minute,
yeah,
Mr. Hawk.
so Celtics, I probably didn't give them the time they deserve tonight, but there should be quick work of the Sixers.
Right.
And
I guess
again,
you're
it's
more
too bad,
confident than me.
because I do like Ben Simmons, and it would have been a fun series. So, and by the way, it was 70 degrees when I came out here this evening.
Yeah.
It was like a nice fall-like condition.
Yeah, I put my
And
long
I just
pants
want
on.
to tell people before I say goodbye, I don't like it when people say during the autumn it's an Indian summer day because about 95% do not know what an Indian summer day. You have to hit 32 degrees.
Oh, for before and again?
Right.
Oh,
then
really?
you have
I'm not
to
sure
hit.
I knew that.
Then you have to hit 70 degrees.
Oh, is that right?
That's what
I
an
don't think
Indian
I
summer
knew
day
that.
is. So
Huh.
that's it. That concludes this edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. For Alan Cunningham, our engineer, my good friend Duke Forrest, I'm the Nighthawk. Remember, folks, you do not have to be a great athlete to be a good sport. We'll see you next week.
See ya. I think